Hi, thanks for joining us today. And today I'm really excited to welcome lovely Sandy Barker. Um,
Hmm.
Welcome, Sandy. Thank you very much for joining me today. So you are described, I noticed on your website, something like, from my memory, writer, traveler, romantic. It's something romantic, isn't it? But
Yeah.
because you travel. So where are you at the moment?
We're actually in Idaho at the moment. So I set up this lovely tableau, but I mean, our friends have this beautiful fireplace and mantle. So I
Gorgeous.
think this is going to be the best place for our chat today. Yeah. So friends of ours from when we lived in Seattle days, back in 2008 to 2012. Really good friends, our first friends that we made there. And now they've got three boys. They live in Idaho. So we've stopped here for the week. And it's been super fun because, of course, Halloween here in America.
Oh, of
And,
course.
we did the pumpkin carving and the kids were trick-or-treating. And my partner and I dressed up last night and I was a witch and we answered the door,
Such
trick-or-treat, and all the
fun.
great kids. And it was just so much fun. And it's a really beautiful city at Boise. And of course, it's, we're chilly here too. So rugged up and heading into winter. And we're just off to Washington State tomorrow, where we're spending Thanksgiving with Ben's family and catching up with some old friends in Seattle. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride. We've been on the road since March.
Wow, how fantastic.
Yeah,
But you've
and
always traveled a lot, I think, haven't you?
yeah. So even when we were kind of, had an apartment and had day jobs, etc., we met traveling. We are both passionate about traveling, so we always tried to make something happen every year at least. And we had a few years where the borders were closed in Australia, so we did as much internal traveling as we possibly could, going to other states. And we often travel. To wine country. In fact,
I
our
like
next
that.
stop is wine country. It's a place called Walla Walla, and a mutual friend of ours, Andy Newton, who writes for One More Chapter as well. She lives out that way, so I get to meet her in person.
Oh,
She's actually been a
lovely.
really good friend of mine for several years. We've never met in person, so that's exciting. But yeah,
Oh,
wine is it's definitely a draw card because we really like kind of the experience of learning about a new place through the wine, the terroir, and meeting winemakers and going to tasting rooms and just kind
oh,
of trying a bunch of different things. And we've done quite a bit of that this year. So continuing our wine tour across the world.
oh, that sounds heavenly. Because of
Yeah.
course, wine, where wine sort of is grown, it tends to be the most beautiful areas, doesn't it? Or it always seems to me to be.
Absolutely. And lots of different kind of areas. So Walla Walla, where we'll be in for the next few days is in Eastern Washington. It's quite, deserty and dry. So that's a completely different landscape to, if you're in Tuscany where it's all hilly and green. But yeah,
Mm.
it's super fun and it's kind of a theme of our travel, whether we're doing long-term travel like this year or just kind of, little jaunts here and there. And along the way, we're both working. So I'm writing books. I've just finished a manuscript last week, so I'm taking a little bit of a breather this week.
Mm.
Um, and my partner is a software developer, so he's working for some clients back home in Australia. And we're fitting it in. So when we're somewhere like here, where
Yeah.
we were staying in the same bed for like a week and a half, and our friends work and the kids are off to school. We're like working during the day, and then we all get together in the evening and explore kind of the city, etc. So yeah, we're trying to we found that really great balance of just kind of fitting it in around when we can, and then sometimes we're moving around a lot. We might be three different locations in a week, and so it's like, okay, I'm riding on the train or the plane or what have you. So it's been interesting as a challenge, but I know that you went full-time author quite some time ago, but this is kind of my first year where this is all I do now. So but with deadlines, you have deadlines and
I
you have
think
to.
that's the thing. I think, because I mean, you're real digital nomads, aren't you, really? The pair of
Yes,
you. How
yeah.
fantastic. Oh, it's just dreamy that is. But I think, yes, having deadlines, that's certainly a really good incentive to, I really don't want to do this today, but I have this deadline. I've got to do at least so many thousand words or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
keep
And I
going.
find that the writing is a lot easier when, that's the thing, that's the piece that I can do more when we're in transit.
Mm,
Editing,
yeah,
I really try to just be like, okay, where are we going to be when I have to get this editing done? Because I need quiet and focus and just, to have a really good setup. And I'm traveling kind of with a laptop stand and, the proper mouse and everything. So I will just kind of lock myself away. Editing is, I don't know, some authors really like editing.
I don't.
It's like, it's
First
like,
draft for me, love it. I'm in my happy place.
yeah.
Editing, it's like, oh no, it's like trying to wrangle this sort of weird jigsaw that doesn't want to go sometimes. It just
It is absolutely. And I mean, you've written dual timelines, and I mean, most of my books, I'm working on a dual timeline at the moment, but most of my books are just kind of one, set of characters. It's linear. I write linear, and I tend to make that a little bit easier on myself. But I had something funny when I was writing the Christmas swap, which is my Christmas book out with one more chapter. It's like I wrote it about 4 years ago now, but it's three different characters in three different locations. They're all best friends. They swap Christmases for the year, and it's like Australia, England, and America. And
it sounds very complicated.
well, I made it really hard on myself, but I just did alternating chapters, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, like in rounds. But then it was right when I was doing the proofread, and this is something I had missed however many times I'd read the book. My agent had missed it. My editor had missed it. The
No.
copy editor had missed it. And the proofreader was like, I don't think this timeline kind of matches up. And it was in Australia, like 5 hours had passed, and in America it was like 3 days.
Oh
And it's not supposed
no.
to be, like if I'd plotted it out, there would be timelines, like three simultaneous timeline. Anyway, it was pretty fun. We caught it. I, I massaged it, but I was like, okay, if I'm ever writing a dual timeline again, or that kind of thing where, I mean, that's not even dual timeline. That's just kind of like three different time zones. If I'm ever doing that again, I'm going to like really
You
map
live
it
and
out.
learn, don't you?
I
Yeah,
mean, even setting this up, it was like, okay, where are you going to be? I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in America. What time zone?
but you sent that really clever thing, didn't you? Because I did have it all, or I would have made a mistake, and it was, I think it was, you mentioned something about the hour changing. Our
Yep.
clocks went
Yep.
back over the weekend, and I would have completely missed that if you hadn't mentioned it. And now I've remembered to change this clock and that clock, but I would have completely forgotten that. Oh no, that was really useful. That
An
was.
hour different. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's called Time Buddy. If anybody's out there and you're working with a
excellent.
time zone, it's just called Time Buddy, and it looks like something that was created in the late 1990s.
It's
But
brilliant though.
it's so good. And
It
you can put
is.
them where you are and where they are, and then you can
Yeah,
match it all up and you can put in
bingo.
the date
Yeah,
counts for that. Like, they
so
just work.
good. I will definitely be using that many times again, I can tell you. Oh yeah. No, I mean my worst thing, I think the worst book that I did was working on was I'm never ever going to have a pregnant character in my book ever again
Right.
because I mean I've had two children, obviously, and the complication with, oh, I don't think she'd be this big here, and I don't think she'd feel like that. And it's like, oh, I don't really care. I mean, it was actually nothing to do with the story. And I thought, why did I do this? It took so much thought, and it was backs and forwards and backs and forwards. I will never do that again. But I think that's the thing. You do learn something different with each book, don't you?
You do, absolutely. And so my next book that's coming out, one of the supporting characters is expecting. And then I'm writing the following book, and I'm like, okay. And I had to go back. I'm like, okay, so she's blah 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 blah, and far along will she be? And then I'm writing this epilogue where, it's like, oh well, how old would the baby be? And I'm
Yes.
just like,
Yeah. And what would the baby do then? Yes, thankfully I've got nieces who I was able to ask. It's like, I can't remember this.
Yeah, it's a while ago for me. It was a while ago, but yeah, I mean, and I've not ever had a baby, so I was just I'm like Googling stuff and
I was
yeah,
Googling madly as well.
yeah. But I find that even though a lot of my books are set in destinations that I've been to, so I only really write places I know. But I still have to do the desktop
Yeah.
research, like it might have been a few years since I've been to such and such. Is that restaurant still open? Or do I just want to kind of create a
Yes.
food restaurant that's like that? So I find when I'm drafting, there'll be days where my Google searches are really random. It's like, how much does it cost to get into the Louvre,
Yeah.
or um, do French people say blah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
it's
true. But I mean, I think sometimes you can't actually win. I had one reviewer. I mean, I was born in Jersey. I have lived here, apart from a couple of years where I lived in South Africa, my entire life. And in one of my books, I don't know, just typed in, it was something about so many miles per hour. I don't know why I even put that in. And this reviewer, who obviously isn't like from here, said, mark me down in a review saying, clearly this author has never been to Jersey, or because in Europe they drive, it's kilometers per hour. And I thought, but of course you can't respond to anything.
no,
So
no.
I thought, okay then, whatever you say. But yeah,
Well,
so sometimes you
you're
can't win
forgiven.
anyway, really, but you
You're
do have to do your
forgiven
best.
because your publishers are in the UK, and
Mm.
so it's just going. It's not even registering with them, and then no, you can't reply. And I've had viewers. Oh my gosh, I've had the funniest things come up. They're like, one for the Christmas swap. It's like, clearly this person's never been to America. No one in America eats Christmas cake. And I'm like, wow, wow. So we're talking, 350 million people and no one eats Christmas cake. And I'm like, my grandma, the American, used to make Christmas cake. And I'm like, I'm thinking about my American Christmas. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, half American, half British, born in Australia, lived in America. I've lived in America like 10 years of my life and no one eats Christmas cake. I'm like, well, you know what? Just sort of.
Yeah, yeah, or, you can't please everybody all the time. Oh,
No, no,
he normally doses all the time, but clearly not.
that's
No, that's hilarious. That is, and that's the thing. Everybody's got different families, even if they did live there. They,
yeah,
you have your traditions that you sort of bring down from different parts of the family, or maybe other places, or whatever. Yeah, because so your book coming out actually on the 12th, isn't it? Someone
yes,
Like You, and
this
this is,
one.
oh, I love that cover.
Isn't it
Gorgeous,
gorgeous?
gorgeous cover. Look at that. You got the firelight behind you there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, hello. I need to get some photos of me in front of the fire with
Yes, you
my
do. That is such a good, that's lovely. And it looks quite similar.
yeah.
So that's actually up on the 12th of November, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Now it is not officially a Christmas book, but it is a Christmas book. I didn't realize when I was kind of planning my writing for Boldwood that I was going to be submitting this book on this day. It's going to come out in November, and I'm like, oh, I'll make it a Christmas book. But of course, all the Christmas books actually come out in September, October. So we haven't really kind of made it super obvious as a Christmas book. Maybe for 2025, it'll get some, I don't know, laurels or something around. But yeah, it's my love letter to Seattle. So
Oh, lovely.
it's part of the Ever After Agency series, which is a matchmaking agency in London. So the
Love
London
that
connection
idea.
is still there. And Gabby, she's a little expat American. So she's from Seattle and she moved over to America where she was adopted by her two co-workers, Raf and Freya, and they just became fast friends and a little trio. And then Freya, if anyone who's read the series, Freya's actually a matchmaker with Poppy at the Ever After agency. So she left marketing and went to be a matchmaker. And Raf, our hero, he's just won Britain's Best Bakers, which are completely ripped off from GBBO.
Love
Um,
that.
and
Watching it now.
he's just won that, and he's been a marketing executive for a really, really long time, but he wants to he's thinking he might join his auntie in her baking company, and so he's kind of toying with that. Simultaneously, he'd planned to propose to his girlfriend the day he won GBBO, or sorry, Britain's Best Bakers, my rip off of GBBO. And she breaks up with him that
Oh,
day by text. So Freya, the matchmaker, gets it in her head. I want a match. I want a chance. You always pick the wrong women for you. I want a chance at matching you. So she ropes Gabby into this matchmaking scheme for Raf. And then at the same time, Gabby starts to realize that she has feelings for Raf.
oh,
So
lovely.
she's like having to be this kind of proxy matchmaker while just, it's all coming to light. And then he's kind of left on his own for Christmas because his aunt and uncle are heading off. And Gabby says, why don't you come to Seattle with me? And then she's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And lots of fun and in at the family. There's a Christmas wedding that's, is quite disastrous because there, for various reasons. And she has to share a bed with, like, it's just, I'm like all the tropes. I'm like,
I
oh
was
my,
just thinking that all those tropes, fantastic. Yeah.
super, super fun. Really,
Yeah.
really fun. I had
Brilliant.
a blast writing this book. Like this book is my first one that I've written on the road. Like
Oh, right.
yeah. So I've just kind of, it's my 2024 sabbatical digital nomad book,
Oh,
and
that's so
absolutely
fantastic.
so much
So,
fun
so
writing.
the book you've just delivered, is that would that be in the same series?
Yes. So that's book 5 in the series. It's actually the last in the series. Hasn't got a title yet. I'm really curious to see what my editor Emily will come up with because she's really helpful with titles. I've only submitted the one that I want, I submitted with that title, and she goes, oh, I love that title. It's perfect for this. And I was like, yes.
I love that.
Because like sometimes you get attached to a title and then your editor goes, not so much. So I don't know what it's called yet, but that one is about 3 women who discover they're engaged to the same man. Yes.
Nice.
And Poppy, who is our matchmaker all the way through the series, she approaches Poppy and says, look, I want to help. I want you to help me get revenge on him. And Poppy's like, yeah, we're not in the business of revenge. We're in the business of happily ever afters. But that was so much fun to write as well.
That's very
So that
fun.
one, uh, that's my second book that I've written on sabbatical. But the love interest, the potential love interest, is actually the brother of another fiance, and he's the one who shows up and says, "You're engaged to the same man as my sister." Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
brilliant.
it's really fun. Like it was just kind of this revenge plot humming along, and it's set in London, but also Amsterdam. It's set in Verona, because one of the fiancés is in Amsterdam and one of the fiancés is in Verona. And those are 2 places I traveled to this year. So that's why they're in the book.
Fantastic. That's so wonderful, though, that you're seeing all these wonderful places, but you're also giving your readers an insight into all these places. I love that. I love being able to visit places through a book. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, me too. A bit of armchair travel. And
Yeah.
I think that what was really clear during, the pandemic, was that we've just had workers show up. I don't know, they've let themselves in. That's fine. I don't have to do anything. What was really clear was that was a huge escape for a lot of readers, is just a bit of armchair travel. I can't go anywhere. Let's go and have a summer holiday here, or let's go ski in this country, or let's go what have you. And I read a lot of travel fiction as well, because it's just so immersive. And
Oh,
I'm
it's
passionate about travel, and there's so many writers that we know that are writing for our publishers that just do such a brilliant job of bringing those locations to life.
totally
So,
do.
and I mean your book that's the dual timeline, is the Poppy, what's the one,
I've
the
got
Poppy
I've got a few. So I mean, it could be Poppy Sisters,
Poppy
probably.
Sisters, that's the
Yeah.
one, the Poppy Sisters. I
Yeah.
really love that, but I just
Yeah.
felt, I just felt your research is phenomenal, and I'm always so in awe of historical fiction authors and how you bring history to life, not just the locations. But it had such an evocative sense of place,
Thank you.
and I just felt that I could feel like I was there. And you must really enjoy kind of going to places, but also revisiting in your
Yeah.
mind.
Oh, I do. And I think the things, especially, well, most of my books are actually set. I mean, here, a lot of people didn't realize for the Poppy Sisters that we actually had a prisoner of war camp here in the First World
Yeah.
War.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people obviously heard about the prisoner of war camp in Alderney during the occupation, the Second World War, but we actually had one here. And strangely, when I was much younger, I used to ride ponies with my sister down. It's at the base of the sand dunes in St. Juan's Bay. I live above St. Juan's Bay. And we used to canter around that. You're not allowed there now. It's a site of special interest, which is a good thing. But we used to canter around there, mess about on our ponies. And I remember seeing all these like bases of walls, and obviously there'd been like a hut there, or a building of some sort, and there were like fallen bits of wall and strange things like that. And it wasn't until about probably 10, 15 years ago I realized there was a prison of war camp there. That's what
Wow.
these remnants were for or from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that always fascinated me, and there's not terribly much about it.
Mm.
But then I thought I absolutely have to write about this at some point. So it
Yeah.
was so wonderful to be able to do that. And I remember, I've said this before on other interviews and stuff. I remember sitting between two authors. One was Kate Harrison and one was Sarah Duncan at an RNA conference years ago. And I love both their books. And I remember saying, how do you decide what to write? Because I've got so many ideas, but, and one of them, I can't remember which one, said, I think of something that I'm really fascinated by, but don't know much about. Because I know
Yeah.
once I start researching, I've really got to spend a lot of time doing it, and you really immerse yourself in it. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. And it's from that I wrote my first historical, which was it was the First World War again. My great grandfather was in the Lancers, so I was in the cavalry. So it was an excuse in a way to spend
Yeah.
an awfully long time researching something that you're fascinated by. So yeah. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I didn't realize you didn't know about that until that recently. So
Yeah.
that's so, I mean, I love that I've been to Jersey and it is extraordinary. And I remember saying, I'm going to Jersey, and people were like, New Jersey. I'm like, no, old Jersey, original OG, the OG
Yeah.
Jersey. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place. And it's obviously not very big, but I love that, having been born there, raised there, lived there most of your life, you're still discovering things about
Oh,
it.
there's
And
I mean, it's 9 miles by 5. It's a small
yeah,
place. It's the largest
oh,
of the Channel Islands, but it's small.
yeah,
And we're so close to France that I see the lights of France from my bedroom window.
yeah.
And there are so many things that people don't know about this tiny place. People know about,
Mm.
oh, it's like a tax haven, which it's not for most of us that live here, and that sort of thing. There's tourism or whatever. But I remember there were some Japanese people over here where I worked. They were connected to it years ago. And before they flew out, I was designated the person to drive them around and show them parts of the island. And I drove them here to St. Juan's, which is where I live, one of the 12 parishes. And there's this beautiful manor house. And I told them, just as I was amazed that they were so interested, actually. The seigneur, who's, I suppose, like Lord of the Manor of the parish back in the day, so from Charles the Second's time, I'm going to get myself confused between the first thing. So after the English Civil War,
Yep.
the island let the king hide over here for a short period of time. And as by way of thanks, he gave the Seigneur of St. Juan's, de Carteret, the surname is, some land in America, basically. And this land, which was then given to the people of America, whatever, became New Jersey. And that's where New Jersey got its name from. It's actually from my little parish here where I live, which is a
Oh
tiny
my
little area. And yes, it actually originates from that. The name certainly originates from that. So I told them this because that's like we know this here. It's like they were absolutely fascinated by that. And I thought,
God.
people don't actually realize that. So yes, that actually came from
That
this
is
little place here.
that is fascinating. I
Mm.
mean, I obviously made the connection because I mean, and New
Yeah.
Jersey is known for it's very lush and it is kind of like it was like it's the Garden State. So I just thought it was kind of like people around went, oh, it reminds us of Jersey, but no,
Yeah.
it was
No, it actually was
from
named by them. Yeah, so it is quite fascinating. Yes, there's a lot of history for a tiny little place. So
Absolutely.
I have no problem finding things to actually write about.
Yep.
Um, so
Yep.
the one I'm actually I'm finishing my, this is the third book in the series for Boldwood. I'm actually
Yep.
finishing a first draft, so I'm loving that.
Yep.
And then I've got to get straight onto structural edits for my next book for HarperCollins. And that's actually a dual timeline set in the occupation, but also the English Civil War, which and basically how it affected
Oh.
Jersey and witches. Yeah, the
Ooh.
Channel Islands were one of the, I can't actually, I should think of the quote, but I can't think what it is. Basically, they had the most witch trials per capita in Europe. It was like the witch hunters thingy of Europe. I can't think of the right words. Was actually in the Channel Islands. So again, I didn't know that until I started researching it. So that's the structural edits. I've got big structural edits. So so that's going to take a lot of thought and a lot of work. But yeah.
I mean, but that sounds fantastic. That's you've got all up my alley. I love historical fiction. I love anything about witches. And from the supernatural through to the historical of the
Yeah.
women, accused of witchcraft and the
Yeah.
healers, etc. And I mean, I'm fascinated. I'm one of my favorite things in the world is Outlander. I'm
Oh,
obsessed with the books. I'm
yes, lovely.
obsessed with the show. And of course, there's that whole plot of Claire being accused of being a witch because she's a
Yeah.
healer. So
Yeah,
I'm
because she's the healer,
fascinated
and
by
also
that.
because she's different. She talks differently, she looks
Yeah.
differently, and
Yes.
my girl go back accidentally. Her mother accidentally sends her back in time with this privateer who came forward in time. She's basically trying to return him back to his time, and accidentally
Right.
sends her daughter back too. So of course she is a witch during the Second World War. She is a witch, but obviously everyone's aware of how badly treated women were and how they were
Yeah.
accused unnecessarily in lots of cases, just because they might be different. And of course, her
Yeah.
daughter's going to be different. Her hair's different. The way she speaks is different. Her clothes are clearly different. So
Yeah.
she's got a lot of work to do to stay safe, basically. So yeah, I've loved that, but it's very different to anything I've done before.
It
Um,
is.
yeah,
It
because normally it's like war books, but this is
Yeah.
actually a different sort of thing. So that's
And
why
then you've got your
structural edits are going to be big.
oh my God, that sounds so good. I cannot wait. And when's that coming out? Is that
That's my 2025 one for one more
25?
chapter. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, wow. Yes, I am there for that one.
Thank you. Thank
It's funny
you.
when you write. It's funny when you write a genre. Sorry, the sun's now like streaming through the window. I'm just going to kind of angle myself over here. It's fun when you're writing a particular genre, and I do read a lot in my genre. So I read a lot of rom-coms. Read a lot of travel fiction, but to what I read to escape is completely different.
Mm.
I'm like, give me historical fiction. I'm obsessed with World War II fiction, which is why I read a lot of yours. And I love crime thrillers.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
like detective thrillers. I like a series. I've just read the latest Michael Connelly. Like I've read all of his books. I think he's got like 35 books out now. Like I just am obsessed with like I want a procedural crime. I want the character that I know. I want
Yeah.
um, and it's just I like Nikki French really gory stuff like just completely
Oh,
different
I
to
love things like that and
rom-coms.
clever. I love clever things. My friend Gwyn Bennett, she writes crime novels, and she's got this protagonist, Dr. Harrison Lane, and he's so clever. This guy, he looks like Tom Hardy, but he's so clever. Rides a motorbike. He's everything I want in a hero, basically. This rugged thing on a motorbike wearing leathers, but he's so brilliant the way he works out these crimes, stuff like that. Oh, and I just love her series. It's so good. Yeah, but that's completely different to something that I would write, and I see what you mean. You do need, your brain does need a complete break, doesn't it, when you're so deeply focused in something.
Yep.
It sort of helps refresh it, I think, a bit by doing something completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just find sometimes as a creator, as an author, you need to be consuming. Like you
Yeah.
need to just, and I know that a lot of authors are like, won't even read in the genre they write because they're afraid of kind of plagiarizing. And I used to really worry about that. And now I'm like, no, I learn from reading. I learn
Yeah.
from reading all genres. And I even learn from if I will go through a phase where I'm just consuming like fiction in all different formats. And I'm watching, oh gosh, I watched this the romance on Netflix with Laura Dern yesterday.
Oh, yes. The one about the
With
author.
Liam Neeson.
And
Yes.
and,
Oh,
and she doesn't back up her book, and she's been writing for 2 years. It's like,
yeah, spoiler, everybody. But
sorry,
okay,
everybody comes.
no, no.
I did enjoy it very much. There's a lot of other things around it, but
I just was like, okay, for a
no
start, I
author I've
didn't think
ever
about it.
met would do that.
And yeah, it comes on, she's an author, and I'm like, oh God, here's another author who makes, squillions of dollars. And then he's like, do you always I'll go on retreats to Morocco? And she's like, yeah, all the time. And I'm like, what the hell? Who is writing these authors?
I know. They're not at all realistic. Well, certainly not in my world anyway. Yeah, I
I
go
just,
down
as
into
soon
my
as
garden and I get on with it.
yeah, exactly.
Kitchen table,
As soon as
whatever.
she
Yeah.
loses this bloody book and like I've been working on that for 2 years. And I'm like, well, you're a bloody idiot, mate. I just
What
was
the hell
like,
is wrong with you? Who does?
done. I
Yeah,
don't even
no, no.
care. I don't even care if they have a happily ever after now. I'm
No,
like,
no. I actually
this
thought,
disbelief,
really,
I
what is wrong
can't
with
suspend it.
Oh God, it's actually sent terror through my head. It's like, why would you not back it up? Yeah.
No, it's not backed up. It's just in this laptop that I'm taking across the world. No,
Seriously?
no, love,
Yeah,
no.
no, that didn't make any sense at all. It really didn't. So how many books do you write for Boldwood like I do? I've got my Boldwood mug here. Look at that. My Boldwood mug.
Yeah. So I've got this will be my fourth book with Boltwood. So it's all in the same series. And book five's coming out in April. And I've just signed with them for 5 more books. So better crack on.
So exciting.
Yeah, it is. And because we're wrapping up the series, I actually wrote a series epilogue. So for anybody who's read the series, book five, at the very end, I've got like a 4,000 word epilogue where you get a little glimpse into where every single couple is, what they're
That
doing
is lovely.
years down the track. I know romance authors love that. Readers love that. I love
Yeah.
that as a reader. I want to know, like, okay, it's really, really great. They had the kiss on the motorcycle at the end or whatever, but like, where are they doing now? Like, do
Yeah.
they live together? Did he move to France? Whatever. So I've done that. And then the next 5 will be standalone rom-coms. I've got some really fun ideas, and I'm going to meet with my editor soon and just kind of like, which do you think is going to be the right one to come out in November?
Right.
And then I've got 8 out currently with HarperCollins, 1 more chapter, same as you, and including like 2 Christmas books. So they tend to kind of pick
Yeah,
up this year, which is
that
lovely.
is nice.
And the Christmas swaps, like I think yeah, I think it's free on Kindle Unlimited or something anyway. But yeah, so it's nice to kind of have Christmas books, and then every year they rock around and you go,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
Christmas
I
book
love
is
a Christmas. I
up
love a
again.
winter Christmas book. I love all the different seasons. Yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm working on some other things as well. Like I've got this, kind of book of my heart that I'm going back to. I'm taking a bit of a break before I crack on with the next Baldwood book. And that's set in Australia, and it's about a lifestyle guru who kind of blows up her life and gets back to her roots, which I just love this book, and I'm coming back to that now. And yeah, I don't know. I
Busy old
just like,
time.
yeah, I'm busy and happy and loving
Oh,
it.
it's
And
so nice. You're busy, but you're traveling and just enjoying life. How fabulous.
it is. We look, we know how fortunate we are, but we worked hard to make this happen.
Yeah.
And we are just soaking it all up as much as we
Oh,
possibly can. The sun at the moment, sun's, you
oh,
know,
good for you, though. Good for
window.
you.
Have to get
That's
out there and go
lovely.
walking up into the hills and the mountains. We're just at the base of the mountains here, and it's just so beautiful. The trails, the dog's like, come on, and takes me on a walk, and I'm like, where are we going?
Oh,
It's
that's so nice. That's so nice.
so enjoying that here. Anyway, it's so lovely to talk
It
to you.
is
Thank you
so
for
lovely to
making
meet
the time.
you. Thank you so well. I have met you. We actually met in the summer, didn't we, at the Bob with
We
some
did,
party, which
yeah, we
was
did. I
so
got to
nice.
hug you. It's
Yeah.
lovely.
You know, it's so weird because you like chat to people online and stuff like, because our work is generally online, isn't it, really?
Yes.
When you actually meet someone, I forget that I haven't actually met them before because
Yes.
you're so familiar. It's
Yep.
quite weird when it's like, oh, please give Andy my love, by the way, Andy Newton.
I
Super.
will.
I love all her books as well.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I'd love to meet her someday. She's always been so fabulous. Yeah, she was
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
who tipped me off when I had two books that were USA Today bestsellers, and because she's in the US, and she'll message me in the middle of the night and with a link. It's like, oh, thank you. I never would have known. It's so exciting. Yeah, such a
She's
lovely
a great
lady.
gal, very supportive and such a good author. So I will
Really great.
definitely send your love.
Thank
Um,
you.
and what enjoy your weekend. Where are we? What
Thank
day?
you. And yes,
Friday.
what are we, Friday? Yes, and very good luck for someone like you coming out
Thank
in just a few days. Very
Yeah, thank
exciting.
you. Thanks.
Lovely to see you. Thanks so much, Sandy.
Bye. Bye.
That's it. Bye.